And hi, folks online. So what you're seeing on the screen, the Menti, it's just an icebreaker, part of our Pathways and Intersections ways for you all to get to know each other in fun ways, but also when you're sitting next to each other, sharing with each other about the work you do, and ideally sitting in different places every time you come in person, so you're actually sitting next to someone you've never talked to potentially, because we don't meet every month, or and you may not be able to attend every time. Again, we have folks online. Hello to our folks online. And there is a breakout room for you all to be able to talk. But first, I'd love for people just to like remind you how this engagement tool works. You can either go to menti.com or scan this code with your phone and then enter. You don't even have to enter the code if you scan it. And the question is, tomato sandwich with dukes or helmets? Now you'll notice on the options, there's one that just says yuck, because you may hate mayo, right? I want to emphasize that these types of things are an example of sometimes the way we can show up in community, breaking the ice with neighbors. Might not be a question about mayo. It could be something relevant to the work we're doing. But we're going to be able to see the result, which is the really cool part of having digital tools where there's individual anonymous voting, but results given back to the room. So I'm glad you had some time to talk, but we're going to, in a few seconds.
I do have a question. Is it Duke's made in Richmond? Well, I don't mean to skew the poll, but keep that in mind.
Are we sure it's not North Carolina?
Yes, tomato ring. You might not like tomatoes, right? And that actually has a lot of relevance for what we're going to be talking about a little later with engagement. But I just wanted you to know that if you haven't yet, and you myself. And then in a few seconds, I'll be sharing the screen to show some results. So talk it over. Feel free to talk about your mayo preference. I know what mine is.
Which you sort of probably see Duke's made now.
If I ate mayo, I'd
appreciate
oh,
Oh,
okay. Sort of one of those. How about you?
No, I would make, just like,
Yeah.
I didn't have mayo until I was like 20. And something came to me.
There's
that
also
I
a brand,
believed
there's also a
became
brand called
to
Sour,
me.
which is like a knockoff.
That's
Harder to find. That's the same thing.
Oh,
Better because I think that.
So it's better with mayo.
Where it's
But
sort
I
of
know
just
how people don't like mayo.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go to Costco.
But sour says.
Yeah, I was never
And
had
I
that
know-
moment.
I'm not
I never had
from-
that moment.
I didn't know.
Pop me in the sky.
They all die.
Has Warrington grown a lot?
Can't tell the difference.
Dukes is ahead by quite a margin, y'all.
So expensive to live there.
Yeah.
Like I could
Now,
never live
in my
there.
house, we had Miracle Whip, so I didn't know about Dukes. So it was a Hellman's Miracle Whip contest.
I mean, I think.
You must be a newcomer.
I'm from Pennsylvania, I'm a northerner.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
How much I thought.
My father actually bought 5 gallons.
Saved enough money to down payment on a house, on a house. Oh, yeah, so it's insane. It's which is like kind of hard. Now, I mean, I'm
Dukes was a delicacy.
never on that.
I
Yeah, seriously. I know, it is. Yeah, like I said.
Like five houses in
Growth
my
anniversary
the
meeting.
last house.
Yeah.
Best sandwiches.
Oh,
Oh my God,
Could be late.
Have one and then for all. Mad at me.
The house was bigger than the two or three.
I just what to do.
What most people do. And now I live in.
Don't come go. We used to go to the beach. We would do a family beach. It was very late August. And my grandmother, I would remember, she would bring down. Like, she would have like a cart.
You know,
Letting go and all that. Yeah, and put it in the back seat.
You don't.
Don't got it last time.
Yeah.
Then you find.
Borrow them out.
You all right with TV?
That's right.
Something.
Yeah.
Material.
That's important.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so he, I think is part of the Richmond.
When that is.
It's a choice. National, with the, or something, yeah. And he does some stuff like that, but I think his brother also had.
The house always stops.
So they just. Oh, gotcha. Right.
Somewhere made of these chunk of.
Yeah.
The house got.
Yeah.
I feel like the house got everything. I have to live in the house, but.
Yeah. So I just, yeah, it's very well.
Everyone, welcome to the March CTAC meeting. Call this meeting to order as we go into things. Wanted to welcome, appreciate everyone coming. Let's do a quick little round of introductions of who you are, where you're from, and the first concert you went to as an adult without your parents. Oh. First concert you went to as an adult without your parents.
Then do you want me to do roll call before?
Is that okay?
Perfect. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
all right,
fine.
all right. So Gordon Dixon, for Henrico, first concert I went to without my parents was actually Van Halen.
Ken Lance, and I think the first concert I went to was Three Dog Night at Parker Field.
Nice. Oh, wow. Okay. Nice, local. Kristen?
Kristen Hutt, community engagement coordinator. I was lucky enough to see Herbie Hancock when I was little. Yeah.
James Hutzer, City of Richmond, and went and saw J. Cole in Virginia Beach.
David Peugeot, Chamber RBA. I probably have to say Così fan tutti, the opera by Mozart. How about that?
Well, that's riveting.
I feel like inconsequential, but compared to that, Charlie Waddell, Hanover, Land of Tomatoes. My first concert was Elton John, September 30th, 1973. I can't forget because I drove my 68 Shelby Mustang to that. It still ranks as one of my premier experiences.
Absolutely.
That's great. Saturday night's all right for fighting.
There you go. There you go.
Andrew Bunn, representing Richmond, and this is very 2014 of me, but it was Pentatonics, which I think many people don't know who they are.
They're a good group.
Okay,
I know.
Christmas.
Yeah, very 2014. Acapella was big.
Still is.
Ernest Moore, Department of Transportation. It is probably Luther Vandross.
Nice.
Jordan Cole, worked at BCU. My first concert was J. Cole here at the National 2014 Forest Hills Drive.
I'm Tony Williams. I'm here from the Span Center, formerly Senior Connections. First concert I went to actually was a stage show. It was Jesus Christ Superstar at the Kennedy Center, probably like 1975. So the Kennedy Center was relatively new then. So it's cool.
Sarah Wisiger, from Richmond, League of Women Voters. And the first concert I went to is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young in Norfolk.
No.
Erin Phelan, Chesterfield County. The first concert I went to was probably Rush.
Very good.
I'm Michael Testerman from Richmond, Virginia, representing the Virginians for High Speed Rail. The first concert I remember going to, Billy Joel was the opening act. And the main act was the Association.
Wow. Upton Martin Ashland. 1963, I went to see Peter, Paul and Mary at Virginia Tech.
Bill Dismore, New Kent County, Jimmy Buffett. I don't remember what year it was. I had too many margaritas.
I'm Sarah Keel Cruz. I'm the manager of executive and board operations with Plan RVA. And I cannot say I would pay money to see him again, but I saw Luke Bryan in college. He's a country singer. It was fun. I mean, it was great when I was like 20, but I don't think I'd go see him again.
Good, good. Well, appreciate that. We're gonna go online here real quick. Champ, I see you, so I'm gonna call you first.
Champ Burnley, Richmond Bicycling Association, Richmond. And to answer the question, I think it was Chicory and Return to Forever at the mosque.
Very good, very good.
Siddarth?
Visual media and technology specialist here at Plan RVA, and my first concert was Moonrise Festival in Baltimore in 2012, I think, or 14, at Chainsmokers, Tiesto, and EDM, electric dance music type stuff.
Sounds good. Holly, you're next on the screen.
Hi, I'm Holly Gordon. I'm the Senior Community Engagement Manager at Plan RVA. I honestly can't remember, but I think I saw Hall & Oates played like a field show at 4th of July when I was in high school in my hometown.
Good. Robert Basham?
Yeah, it's Bob, Goochland County. I have three that first one was 75 was Eagles backstage. Second, when I was in college, I saw the Dead. And last but not least, in 1986, I was at Farm Aid.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Good. Who else am I seeing? I'm trying to look at my bifocals. Brahma? Sorry.
Fatima.
Fatima, thank you. I can't see my glasses.
No worries. It's Fatima.
Fatima, thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Fatima Kamara, Virginia Conservation Network, Land Use and Transportation Manager. I think this conversation needs to be added to the lawsuit against Ticketmaster and Live Nation for their incredibly high prices. Y'all have seen like the greatest bands of all time. The only person who hasn't been mentioned is like Michael Jackson. But anyways, I'll drop the Without the Parents, and I will say that my first concert was like these like Disney stars. Not that anybody would know them at this point, and I'm confident in that. and I will pass it.
Thank you very much. All right, who else am I missing on the screen? It's like 3 or 4 more. I just on the far side of the screen. Michael?
Michael Weedy here. I went and saw Ben Folds in 2007, I think 2007.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyone else on there?
I think that's everybody.
I just want to amend. I went to Herbie Hancock with my parents. I forgot. Cindy Lauper was my first without my parents. And
Okay.
I ended up on stage and I was like the most famous 7th grader. Like the rest of the year. Oh my gosh.
Very good. Well, thank you all for doing that and indulging me on that. Hopefully you got a better connection with folks just doing something quick like that. So I
Great
appreciate that.
questions.
Good, good. So let's go ahead and do roll call. Sarah Keel?
Town of Ashland, Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mr. Root. Charles City County, Mr. Walton. Chesterfield County, Mr. Plymale. Ms. Phelan.
Here.
Goochland County, Mr. Basham.
Present.
Hanover County, Mr. Waddell.
Present.
Henrico County, Chair Dixon.
Here.
Mr. Weedy. I can see he's online. Newcastle County, Mr. Dismore.
Present.
City of Richmond, Mr. Bunn.
Present.
Mr. Brackman. Ms. Erickson. Mr. Hutzler.
Here.
Chamber RVA, Mr. Boudreau.
Here.
League of Women Voters, Ms. Wisiger. Here. Ms. Rosenblum.
She's no longer
Okay.
the alternate. Yeah.
No, thank you. Office of Equitable Transit and Mobility, Mr. Moore.
Department of Transportation.
Thank you. I'll add that in my notes. I appreciate you.
I gotta change that.
Virginia Commonwealth University, Mr. Leonard. Mr. Cole.
Here.
Virginia Conservation Network, Ms. Kamara.
Here.
Mr. Hankins. RVA Rapid Transit, Mr. Sanders. NAACP Richmond Branch, Mr. Minor. Mr. Willis. Virginians for High Speed Rail, Mr. Testerman.
Here.
Richmond Area Bicycling Association, Mr. Burnley.
Here.
Mr. Hamilton. And the Span Center, Mr. Williams.
Here.
Okay, we should have a quorum. Give me just a second.
Sure. Sounds good. We're also going to do a brief moment of silence for Herb Richwine. Herb Richwine, as my understanding, was a CTAC member back in the day. And you have?
Yes, sir. I started researching his tenure on the committee, and he served as chair and vice chair. I think longer than anybody else on this committee, going back into the late 1980s, as best I could tell. But he was a very faithful member of this committee. I think as all, those of you who knew him. So we want to take a moment to express our appreciation for Herb's service to this committee.
Thank you very much. Okay, as we continue on with our agenda today, we'll do consideration of amendments to the agenda. Anyone have any amendments to the proposed agenda before you? Not hearing any, we will continue on. Administrative items, approval of the January 15th CTAC meeting minutes. It should have been in your link.
So
motion by Upton, second.
Second.
Second by Charlie Waddell. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving forward. Roll along to open public comment. This is the time for the public to provide any kind of comments they'd like to briefly. Is anyone here who wants to present anything? Anyone online who wants to present anything?
Chairman, if I might, I had the opportunity to take a vacation recently and came through Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And I just want to point out that whenever I travel, I look at transportation and I try to take public as often as possible. Flew into Miami and had to connect with Fort Lauderdale. The train, and I forget well, it's public transportation. The train from Miami Airport late at night, 9:50 to Fort Lauderdale was efficient, on time, clean, a lot of public stops. When I got to Fort Lauderdale Airport, the shuttle to the airport was there on time. My point is Miami region, their TPO is an organization that we should look at and look to for guidance and for a great example. When I was taking classes at VCU in the Wilder School, I researched their LRTP and was impressed with that. So if you're ever looking for inspiration, Miami region is something to look to. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good. I appreciate the comment. Yeah, it is interesting. I know the chamber sponsors, I believe they still sponsor inner city visits throughout the region to kind of look to see what other communities are doing. I'm just curious, does Plan RVA ever do anything like that on the transportation side that you guys are aware of?
Yes, the relationships with our closest neighbor, the Crater Region MPO, where in fact we do some projects together. The inner city visits happen, and there's definitely communication, and of course other MPOs, Shenandoah, our executive director previously works. So yes, the VA PDC, the Virginia Planning District Commission Association, is where it has a conference, we present, and so there's actually quite a bit of collaboration across Virginia, but outside of Virginia as well. And we've even had folks from Mexico come to learn more about the way we do scenario planning and things like that. So it's a great one to add to the list, I'm sure.
Mr. Chair, we're going, Chamber RVA is going to Phoenix this year.
Okay.
And there is a transportation track where you get to ride their light rail and see what they have going on. And apparently it's, I've not been to Phoenix. I hope the current heat wave 108 abates. But that's always a popular portion of our agenda.
Sounds good. Are you going this year? I assume you are?
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay. Are you running it this year?
Not the transportation one. They stuck me in the arts one. If you couldn't have guessed.
Sure.
There we go.
Lucky you.
That's good. Creative stuff. Well, if you don't mind, report back once you're there. We'd love to kind of hear what you guys learn and what you discuss. I think that would be a great discussion topic and maybe one of the things we could add to our agenda at that point.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be great. When is that? You said
May
Yep.
2 through 7, something like that. 4 through 7.
Got it. Okay. Very good. Are there still spots available or is it sold out? I assume it's sold out.
Our max was 180 and we sold 207.
Okay, sold out. Sorry, I was gonna try and get someone from here to go, but maybe next year.
There might be we could
add 1 or 2 more seats.
Yeah.
Squeeze them in. Great. I appreciate that. Great comments. So thank you very much for that. Rolling on to item number 3, bylaws update.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you guys a brief update. I have some notes here, so I want to make sure I get it right. You all received the bylaws or a link to the bylaws in the packet distribution. I will make a note. We did make a few clerical updates. They were very minor. They did not require a vote per our lawyer. So when you go in your packet today, if you use that QR code, it will take you to the ones that have been fully updated on the website. It just had things like a date change or a word change. So it does not actually change anything of what was voted on at the policy board meetings in February and March. But essentially with these new bylaw updates, what that means for CTAC is that CTAC members representing local governments, that voting structure has been updated to mirror what is done at the policy board. So it doesn't actually change the composition of anything. And it doesn't necessarily change the composition of the local government's voting structure, but it is, and I'll explain that in a minute. It just is going to mirror what we're already doing at the policy board. So I will use Henrico County for an example. Chair Gordon has an alternate, so it's up to the discretion of the locality, but Henrico County could decide, okay, we have 4 votes, so we're going to actually make the alternate, Mr. Weeb, the second voting member. So Chair Gordon would carry 2 votes and Mr. Wiebe would carry 2 votes, and that would total 4, if that makes sense. So currently with the structure, as we just voted it in, with Henrico having 4 votes, as it does at the policy board, Gordon is currently carrying all 4 votes. If they choose to change that, that's fine. You can let us know. Again, there is not we don't have a preference. We are really deferring to what the localities would like to do. But we would ask just that you first look at your sitting members and see what that breakdown is and see if you can promote any alternates versus assigning anyone new. And we are going to communicate with all of the localities about the assigned changes, but we just wanted to let you guys know in case you want to communicate your preferences ahead of time to your clerks and supervisors, etc. And then there aren't any other CTAC specific bylaw changes, but of course we included them in the packet because we want everyone to read over them, get familiar. I just had a conversation with Mr. Waddell earlier, clarifying a few things, and it's helpful for me too. This is not always intuitive, so I understand it's a lot of information, but we just wanted to make sure you all have it and have access to it and can peruse it at your leisure. But then just know that there are those updates to CTAC. And I'm happy to answer any questions or look at the voting structure after the meeting if anyone has questions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good. We'll keep rolling on this. Next topic is the MPO recertification. Holly?
That's me. Yes. Hi, everyone. I mostly wanted to thank the CTAC members who went out of their way to help speak up about their role in public engagement when we had the federal recertifiers here. This is a process that happens, I believe it's every 5 years, but I don't know that I have that number correct, where we're just being checked to say, hey, are we crossing all of our T's and dotting our I's as it relates to doing everything necessary to be correct in the TPO process. And so I wanted to just highlight specifically Ernest, Aaron, Gordon, Sarah, Andrew, Michael, Bill, and Jordan for giving your time to talk to the certifiers. People had really lovely things to say, and it warmed all of our hearts. And the good news is that we have received notification that we have been recertified, and that Ivan Rucker, who was one of the leads there, made some very glowing remarks to the policy board about the process, and specifically acknowledged that several elements of our work, including scenario planning and transparency in document design, public engagement, and strives to improve our supporting plans, including strong relationships with GRTC, advancing our region's trails, and building foundational data systems were some of the highlights of the work that we did. And so you all have helped us do that. And I just wanted to publicly thank you for the things that you said to the certifiers and for supporting us in that process. Thank you.
Holly, certainly do appreciate that. And, while I was on the call in and out, just for other different meetings and so forth, but I thought it was a interesting process and really good dialogue, especially with the folks who were coming in, kind of looking at the recertification, asking a lot of thoughtful questions. And I know a lot of you all provided some great information. I don't know if anyone has any other comments on it. I don't know, Andrew, you made some really good comments, I thought, during that discussion. So I appreciate you weighing in on that perspective. So that was good stuff. Any other comments from folks on that?
Yeah, I'll just add that, so public comment, it remains open. Anyone from the region can submit comment in that federal certification review through March 20th. It is by email to 2 individuals, and I believe we sent that out in the last newsletter. So that's the place to find all the information about that, but also we can drop the emails here. But the idea, I think, is that you send it to both of them. One from the FHA and the other from the, I'm not going to get the acronyms right, the 2 federal reviewers. They're accepting by email. So it is not a survey. It is a comment that you directly, it's not anonymous.
Good to know that it's not anonymous. Just to remind you all that, just in case. All right, rolling on into section B, presentation, community discussion, the LRTP engagement update.
So, yeah, I have about 15 minutes. And so what that means today is that I'm not going to talk at you as much as I want to engage you as I would if I were going out into the community, like I am tonight, like I've been out yesterday. I was in Ashland yesterday with Mr. Martin for the Ambassador's Luncheon. I've been in the city of Richmond. Ernest invited us to come and participate with the Historic Blackwell Community Association. We've completed about 20 events, 21 if we count tonight, 2022, and there are about 20-ish on board for the period going through April 17th. You'll see that on your CTAC news. So I don't know if you could drop that link to the CTAC news in the chat. And what we're trying to do is show you what things are tentative, what things are, you know, if it doesn't have TENT, it's something that's booked. And if there are numbers for engagement, those are things that we just recently completed. This is not the complete list of engagements because it just can't fit on here. But we want you to just be aware that we have just these few weeks left. We have some things on board. You can sort of see where we're going through. Some things are a range of periods. And again, the regional designation, it might be happening in a locality, but the audience is regional. And so we don't want to just say that something is only for one locality if it's open to the entire region. So how many of you have really understand when you take a look at the scenario projects that we're coming to the public about? How many of you feel like you kind of have your head around like what are in those projects and what are the different scenarios that we're asking people to look at? Like, be brave. Like, do you feel like you really? Because my guess is that a lot of people are sort of like, yes, but. Because it's pretty complex. So when we go out to the community, I wanted to show you, and I don't know if the screen will turn around to the back. Maybe if I walk back there, it will. And so go to the first page actually now, because I think we can look at those. They all have that in front of them. There are a few things that we're asking the community about. We're asking about input for the safety plan. That deadline is March 31st. So we have that in paper. I have a paper form here, but we are really encouraging people as much as possible to fill things out online. It takes this about 2-3 minutes to complete because you're really just saying whether you agree or disagree with a list of statements. They're chunked into different kinds of perspectives, whether it's behavior or enforcement questions. There's some design questions, what you see in your community, and then there's some demographic information. Again, you know, we don't ask for names or email addresses. What we found is that most people are really, they're going to do it if they do it in person and they hand it over to us. It means that we then have to enter that data, but we can't guarantee that when we hand someone a little flyer that they're going to then take the time to do it. I think part of that could be that they can't see what they're going to be asked. So this is actually a very helpful tool, even if you're saying, you know, yes, you can do it on your phone and take it later to show people exactly what they're going to be asked, has been helpful. Then we move into another fairly simple, because it's just a series of take a look at these and then, you know, give comment if you have it. The tip. In the back of the room, you'll see that there's a big poster, the Transportation Improvement Plan. That's one of the core plans of the TPO, right? We have the Long Range Transportation Plan and the shorter term that gets updated every 3 years, the Transportation Improvement Plan, AKA the TIP. And right now that is also open for comment. That date is a little bit longer. It closes on April 12th, and you see all these dates on the front of your CTAC news, by the way. I don't want to talk at you without data in front of you. But what is that? I mean, I'm just gonna, you know, there are people in the room who've been doing this a long time. You know what the tip is, but I'm gonna speak to you as if, you know, you think about the neighbor who lives next door to you, who doesn't really know a lot about the work that you do, and you know how we're bringing them into this. So the tip is the shorter term, near term projects. This is the update for 2027 to 2030. We want people to take a look at the projects localities have proposed and to sort of give comment if they have it, knowing that at this point in the process, it's not that we're asking them to make a change or that their comments are going to say that project won't happen, because actually that part of the process where they would have had a lot more influence as a community group would have been at the locality planning commission meetings, talking with localities. when those projects were being discussed at that time. So at this point, people can look at a list, and we've organized it by locality. They can go straight to, I live in Hanover, absolutely want to see what's planned for Hanover. I might be very excited, so I might want to go in and say, this is fantastic. Yes, I'm so glad to know this. Or I might say that I have some concerns, and I would be very specific about those. When you go to the tip feedback page, you're really just saying you've kind of looked at the projects, and did looking at them help you to understand this process better? Do you have comments? If not, looks good, okay. So those two things are pretty straightforward, right? We're asking about, rate these statements, how they feel to you, strongly disagree, strongly agree, I see this frequently, never, or sometimes. And then take a look at the projects that your localities put forward, or anywhere in the region. And then sort of give some feedback if you have it. This is how we're getting the federal dollars home. So the tip is shorter term. It's things that are planned for the near term. They have money allocated, and showing it to the public is part of the process of bringing the money home. There's a second piece that they're going to be asked about online. You can scan it. You can probably scan it from all the way across the room, that big QR code that asks about this air quality assessment. It's a conformity assessment. It's because we, years ago, 20 years ago, didn't meet the standard in the region for the air quality. And so for that next 20 years, we have to submit this report showing that we are, meeting the standard. We're not contributing to worsening air quality by these projects. That's important for people to know too, that those things come together, that transportation and our air quality and our environment are definitely connected. People already know that. They want to hear about that. So if you haven't yet given your opinion, feedback on the tip, we invite you all, each of you in the room and online, to do that. It's really important that you kind of know what that experience is. So when someone asks you, you kind of can say, oh yeah, no, I saw that. Actually, it's just this. Really helpful, I think, to walk through something and know kind of where a sticking point is. We'd also, I think Holly would agree, love it if you, in the early stages of anything we're putting out, go ahead and do that, and then tell us if you feel like something is confusing. Send us an email, call us up and say, hey, I was doing this and it's hard for me to see this, or I don't quite understand. So I'll take a break. So those are the two sort of straightforward things. Any questions about the safety plan survey or the tip update survey? Yes, sir.
I don't have questions, but those specifics, but could you tell us what the interest of your audience is, a general range? Are they ignorant of transportation plans, or are they at the pothole level, or are they aware of long-range planning?
Yeah, great question, because that's what we mull over and deal with all the time. So it depends on where you are. If you're going to a chamber event, because people are focused on business, perhaps they're thinking about how transportation is affecting their business. And so, or they're coming from a regional mindset in this way that, yeah, I've heard of that, or, I don't know much about it. The average resident, no, the average resident is surprised and I think excited to learn that there is a regional body acting together to plan for the future. When we talk about 2050, oh my gosh, right? Like what? You can see some head nods when I'm explaining or we're talking to people, but on average, no, people are not aware. So we have that whole, I would call it a hurdle, but it's an opportunity to educate people that there is collaboration happening at this level, that there's a seat at the table for each locality and the rotation leadership changes. We have an opportunity now to talk about the short-term tip, shovel-ready, money allocated projects, along with the longer, long-range plan, and to show the difference between those. So while it's a lot to put to somebody, hey, there are these 3 things that you can do right now when you're likely to get 1 to be completed. It does allow us to share that, the safety plan is a subset, right? We talk about the bike pedestrian plan as a sub-plan of the long-range transportation plan. So I found that it helps people to see a bigger breadth of the work that we do, rather than only coming out to talk about the tip or only talking about LRTP, because people care about what's happening right now, right? If I can say 2027 to 2030, or you can say these projects are, slated and they have money allocated. Same thing with long-range transportation plan, however. Is it okay to move on to talk a little bit about that? So I'm going to get up and move. Is that okay? I think the owl is going to follow me. And while I do that, I would love it if we could pass, if we could pass this direction and that direction. These physical handouts. Yeah. No. He's gonna pass them down here. So what I'm passing out, and I am sorry, I did not put a digital version in for our folks online. My apologies to you all, but we will get that. I'll do it as soon as I get back to the desk. What I'm pulling out here is the actual list of the projects that are in each of these scenarios. So while you can do everything that we're showing you online, it is really important, I've found, to show people in person, like I said with the survey, showing them what they're going to answer. They're like, okay, I can do that. And then they get a cupcake or something. But this is the list of the projects that they can look at, that you can look at. I'm just going to say you all, because you're the public too. And they can see where they're happening. They're also listed by locality. So there are some, there's projects that are reoccurring across each scenario, but there are different projects and sometimes only half the number of projects. So we have 4 scenarios. If you're talking to people about, hey, you're gonna vote by what's the date that people need to submit the comment for the long range transportation plan scenario project? The 17th of April. So you can see we have March 31st, we've got April 12th, and then that same week really, April 17th. People are able to vote. There's $7.9 billion on the table for these investments. What in the past, I believe happened 5 years ago at the last LRTP is that we had a whole host of scored projects. They were scored against the goals for the regional goals, and they were presented. And that's a pretty big list. If you're talking about maybe 200 projects or over 100 projects, I can only imagine the glazed over eyes of people who, like you say, Mr. Waddell, are not already involved in, and know about transportation planning and know how this is different than their locality. What we as an organization decided to do was to lean into that scenario planning and create these 4 scenarios you see here. And if you have the sheet in front of you, and again, my apologies online, I'll have it to you in a second. On the back, you see examples of that. This paper is meant to support walking, and this is a gallery walk, right? Where you go to each board and you have time to talk with another person. You have time to talk with me or a transportation expert that's there and really look at the comparison. The height of these easels is not intended to mean anything. They're just wonky easels right now. But we have our traditional use, right? This is how we're investing currently. 70% highway, 30% other modes of transportation, and there's a hard cap on that. There's some other details here, like 7.2% bike pedestrian projects are in this scenario. There are 133 total projects in this scenario. You can look at them in person in our paper flip and tell, or you can go on and look at the projects. When you go to engage.planrva.org/LRTP, the thing you're going to find when you click on that give input for scenarios is the list of projects. You're going to be able to explore things before you go to vote and rate. Highway here is at 69.8%. When you come over to the mode shift, which is another option to select, you can rate all of them. In fact, you're asked to rate all of them. But this actually is a shift in the allocation. So there's not a hard cap. There was sort of a desire to get to more like 55 highway and 45 other modes. But because of some funding and constraints, currently that's at about 60% highway and 40% other modes. And this information that I'm saying is on the survey. So we make it so that people have to take in some information. You know, we can't force you to read it. You know, you can skip right past it, but that information about the breakdown of each scenario is there. You'll also see at the bottom here that there are the number of projects and how they were rated high, medium, or low for each goal. So safety, sustainability, reliability, and resiliency are our goals. And of course, you can follow online at Engage, anyone looking at the Engage site. There were 31 projects that had a high safety score, 36 projects that had a medium safety score, 63 projects that were in that lower range, right? And across each goal.
So this is a lot for people, but we have to be transparent and show that these projects were scored against a rubric. And we had presented those goals to the public last summer. So that was part of this long process of 2 years. There are phases. And this is also on that Engage site. Cost effective, biggest bang for your buck. It's like I told my son, if I give you $50 and I send you in to go get a bunch of snacks, are you going to come out with the 2 most expensive snacks? Are you going to get as many as you can? And that means they're not going to be as high dollar. You might not be able to get, you know, you're going to have to split some things. Or are you really wanting, in this scenario, to have less but have higher dollar? So these two talk about, regardless of the mode, we want to get as much as possible with this $7.9 billion. Over here, we're not focusing on having this amount of mode. We're just saying, what's going to be the biggest effect on our transportation system and our economy? And there are 66 projects compared to 123 in cost effective, compared to 130 in mode shifts, compared to 133. This is a lot to tell the public. Can you imagine? When we are at a booth and a table and they're with us for 5 minutes, we do not get this deep. People just don't have the time. You have to tell them who you are. So in-person meetings where we can have boards and we can have paper supports are ideal. Maybe not so much for TIP, maybe not as much for safety, because we've created a phone number now. The last one I'll tell you about. You can call in and leave your message, old school. The number is 804-480-I-SAY. So we've created a lot of ways for people to engage with us and learn about the work we're doing. But in community at meetings where we have 30 minutes, we'll take 15 minutes, right? Because at least there's a warm body and someone saying, I'm here to help you understand. So we're going to wrap up I'm wrapping up this part of the day. I hope I didn't go over the 15 because I want to have time for comments, questions. But this is in a nutshell, the amount of things we're bringing to the public right now through April 17th. And as I always say, invite me to come someplace. We are lacking responses in Charles City, in New Kent, in Powhatan, Goochland. So, you know, our rural, sometimes it's just, you know, it just is what it is. It has nothing negative to say about any of those localities. But going to Charles City, I'm going to Powhatan. We have 3 different things happening in Powhatan tomorrow, Monday, next week. So any and all. Do you have questions for me?
Charlie?
Thank you.
I knew you would.
Thank you. You're soliciting input from individuals, groups and all that. How does this dovetail with the VDOT's 6-year improvement plan and Smart Scale?
Well, so the scoring is similar to Smart Scale, and some of these projects I think have Smart Scale funding, but I cannot speak to the VDOT 6-year. That's a little bit beyond my scope. If there's someone here who knows more, thank you. People.
Yeah, so the 6-year improvement program is money that is allocated. That's VDOT saying where they're putting their money. This is a plan for projects that, some of which have funding, but most of which would be seeking funding. So the idea would be to convert these from the TIP to the 6-year improvement program by getting funding for them.
So it's preliminary, it's upfront, getting input for projects that are not identified.
These are identified. Some of them have money on them already, not all of them.
Yeah, so the TIP is very different and is not part of the long range transportation plan, and it's its own plan. And so there's VDOT and DRPT money, it's VDOT and DRPT roadway and other forms like transit. So they're even on the list of TIP projects, which you can see. I have it here. If you want to, you can look online or look here in person. You'll see they're separated out by VDOT and by DRPT. They're still organized by locality because you're going to see roadway projects for DRPT, and you're going to see, transit and other projects like pedestrian for the DRPT ones. Hope I didn't say that backwards. That's the federal money. We're showing it to the public as part of that process to bring that money back home. So those are more shovel ready. This is 2027 to 2030. The long-range transportation is looking out to 2050. Part of the $32 billion goes to funding the project and maintaining the things we already have. So there's this formula of subtracting for things we have to keep maintaining. This 7.9 billion is what is allocated for these new projects to be included in the LRTP. The policy board will vote on April 23rd. So we have a very quick turnaround from the 17th to have all that public data in. But it is the public's chance to vote on which scenario they would like the board to move forward with. And hopefully everyone in the room is participating in all three.
A couple of things. We are supposed to be ambassadors out in the community representing the RPTTO, whatever it is. In that regards, we ought to be fairly familiar with some of the terms, the funding resources, and the charts that will be used when we go in our meetings. To that end, I think it might be beneficial for us once a year to remind us the multitude of sources of funds, not going into any detail necessarily about what project it's going to, but how many different sources of funds there are for transportation in our region. The second thing is these 4 charts have a tremendous amount of information on them. And I think they deserve maybe spending 15 minutes per meeting looking at focusing on one chart. What does it say? How did that information come up with? And what it really means to the people when we meet them in our meetings. Because I was at the table yesterday at our Ashland Ambassadors meeting, and I didn't feel comfortable representing any one of those charts. So if that's sort of the focus, we might want to spend a little bit more time in these meetings looking at what we're going to be, what's available and how to get to it. Sid might take 10 minutes bringing up, this is the Plan RVA website. You go here, from here you've got the menu, then you can go from here and here and here so that we can explain that also.
Thank you. And I agree. I think we definitely want you all to feel comfortable. And that's really why I chose to have the LRTP debrief not just be about high level data and kind of where we are, but like what it is. I will say that these boards we're not ready for public consumption or printed in time to have, like, we would not be able to show one. We only have meetings every other month here. It would have to be something where we did a separate kind of virtual orientation. I mean, I think today is an attempt to do some of that while we still have plenty of time to have things get on the calendar. Because the projects were scored, the data came in, they were put in the packages. It's a lot of complex work to make that actually become the package. So it's not that these were sitting around for the past even 3 weeks ready to present to you. So there's that challenge of turning that information around and then enabling you all to know. This is just the quickest meeting since last week when we really shared it with the public. So it's been open since the 13th. So you're getting somewhat fresh off the press. And so that's really why I wanted to walk through that. TIP has been open since the 12th. And safety plan has been open since February, and I think we mentioned that last one. But again, that's not the most complex one, as you know.
I'm sure Will would have been very willing yesterday to pull out a laptop and actually demonstrate how to our audience how to go into the Plan RVA website and then how to navigate that website. That might have been a useful tool for us to use because that's a tremendous amount of information on the website that deserves a lot of attention when we go out there as ambassadors for our public. But I'm one that I'm not likely, if I'm just told on a piece of paper, oh, this is available. But if I'm shown, I'm a visual learner, if I'm shown this is how easy it is, and when you get here, you can go there, that means a lot more to me.
Just a thought.
Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I'm just looking at this now. We'll definitely complete this on my own time. But the user interface on the website for all this feedback, the graphs, the maps of the projects, it's so well put together. I commend the Plan RVA team and everyone involved. It's absolutely fantastic. And when it's presented like this and it's not just a black and white slideshow, I think it does invite more feedback. And I couldn't be more proud of this feedback setup. It's great. Great work.
Is there some copy we could put in our newsletter that goes out to over 1,000 in the region?
Yes, so the other thing I'll share, I think I can share right here. So we're on the site now. So this is actually inside the LRTP page. So when you go to the site, I could go back out and just make sure everybody's clear. And engage.planrva.org is the main site. All of the public engagement opportunities live here, and they each have these project pages. You can actually search. You could say, just take me to TIP, just take me to, you might not remember the acronyms for LRTP, but the ones that are open are always at the top. So we have LRTP, Regional Safety, Transportation Improvement Plan, and there's also something about the Weaver Awards, which maybe I'll have time to tell you about a little later. You can see that we also have other projects that are maybe not open for input right now, but they aren't finished. So the Natural Resources Plan still has, I think, one more engagement. Resilience Hub is project working. You can learn more about that. Don't Trash It campaign, and then completed projects. So we are it's been submitted, it's been adopted, the air quality plan, the economic development strategy, the transit plan, the rural transportation study. So when you head in, you just click anywhere on the page, the project, and it is opening. And there is a toolkit. My goal here by clicking on this, is this opening, is that there is a toolkit and a tab at the end of each project. That is where we now can link directly to the toolkit. It is not opening. I think that's my computer and not the internet. The toolkit has some social media graphics, some sample copy, something to say. We hope that you would use what you see on any of our 3 platform sites and any language from the actual project page itself. So this is the toolkit. You'll see that there's this scenario image that has the boards on it. There's a flyer here, sample text to share, and then there's some of the older, just general LRTP, because once this period is over, we'll go back into just general LRTP that could help people engage at any time. So it's not a matter of only sharing it when there's something open. You could certainly put one of these, and we have them in English and Spanish. Remembering that the page can be translated into Spanish or 10 languages. I hope I'm not going on too long, but I definitely want to answer all these questions. There's also some technical reports, one of which has been adopted. The others are in draft form that you can read. There's a lot with the LRTP. It's a 2-year process. So I would definitely encourage getting to know the materials there. And let us know what questions you have. If I can answer it, we'll get you to the person who can.
And then maybe, how easy I say it would be, maybe often to your question about how all the transportation kind of flows and works. There may be a diagram we can potentially try and work on to come together to kind of say, okay, this is where all the funding goes from and how it gets here and where it all kind of goes in and out, just so you can sort of see. Because it's a lot of money and it comes from a lot of different resources. That may be something we can look at and see, try and get back to you guys, or at least you have, so you have a general sense. Different parts.
Yeah, what I'm clicking on now is like a draft of the TIPS plan. You can even look at that. But again, the projects, for anyone wanting to look, when you click on give input, you're going to see that it tells you to overview. It's like you're going to visit the air quality, the draft, the list of the projects, and then you're giving input here, and that's it. You're giving input on those things. We ask you a few demographics. Any other questions about any of the 3?
Good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Greatly appreciate that. Rolling on to the next topic, member share. With Chesterfield County today. Aaron, I think this is yours, right?
Yes.
All right, take it away.
Thank you. So I thought, I have 5 to 10 minutes, I think. So I thought I would just kind of give an overview of, just generally what's going on in Chesterfield related to transportation and some of the interactions I've had, over the last few months, with residents and some, local elected, officials around transportation specifically. So I know Chesterfield's just a neighboring county. But for anyone who's maybe hasn't traveled out there, just wanted to give an overview. So Chesterfield is a pretty large county and it's pretty geographically distributed. There's some, where I live, it's a fairly rural area. The areas that are more to the eastern part of Chesterfield are more dense. But the estimated population in the middle of last year was around 401,000 people in Chesterfield County, and in comparison to the Richmond NSA, which is 1.4 million. So pretty significant chunk of that population is in Chesterfield. From 20 to 25, Chesterfield had the largest nominal increase among all 133 jurisdictions in Virginia in population. So it's definitely growing, like so many localities are anyway. But you can see, if you drive down about 60, or you drive down 360, you can see all the growth, and particularly housing, as well as schools that are being built, other infrastructure like fire and police stations that are being built to accommodate the growing population. And then just in the 5-year period from 2020 to 2025, there was a 10% growth in the population. So pretty significant growth there. So a few parts of the transportation program, I guess, in Chesterfield that I just want to highlight. Right now, Chesterfield is working on the comprehensive active transportation plan. This is an update to the 2015 Bikeways and Trails Plan. And the vision for the active transportation plan is that it will be a safe, describe a safe alternative transportation network throughout the county that is alternative to using cars to get around. So public input started late 2025. The plan itself is scheduled for completion in summer of this year. There were some initial surveys early last year that where people expressed a lot of support for separate bike and pedestrian facilities, like physically separated from the road. So not just bike lanes that are, like part of the shoulder kind of set up, but actually physically separate from the road. There is a story map online on the county's website that goes into a lot of detail about the plan. Other active projects, there are some extensions for safety and connectivity, sidewalk projects, some intersection improvements, especially near schools. The schools areas are one particular, aspect of transportation infrastructure that the county has prioritized. So connectivity between schools and neighborhoods to schools so that kids can get back and forth, safely. A major project that you may have heard about that's going on in Chesterfield, it's kind of in the early stages right now, but it's the Powhite Parkway extension. And I think it's eight or 9 miles. The current stage that's in is the EIS, the environmental impact statement, is going on. And the decision on that is expected in the middle of next year. There were several alternative plans that were proposed for that project. Alternative 1A is the one that was recommended by VDOT, and the Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution in favor of that plan also, in November of last year. Ultimately, the Transportation Board is responsible for the approval of that alignment. The majority of the public comment has been around concerns about accessing existing roadways. So like, is the POIC gonna, you know, essentially like cut off access that they currently have going down a particular road? And the response is generally no. There's going to be it's still a high level at this point, but the essential plan is to have overpasses over the road so that access wouldn't be interrupted. There's several other projects. Chesterfield actually has a Department of Transportation that acts as a liaison with VDOT. And so on the Chesterfield website, there's a listing of major projects that are going on right now. So there's a handful of those that are listed in more detail. A couple of them are described as the county being willing to accept public comment, and so there are public comment sessions that are scheduled for specific dates and times for 2 or 3 of those projects that are ongoing. So I honestly don't know. I have to guess that there's probably some opposition or some community feedback they've gotten that has caused them to decide to hold that meeting. Let's see. Another thing I wanted to highlight is, and I wasn't aware of this until I actually did research for this purpose. But in 2022, the US DOT awarded the county a grant that the county then used to develop a safety action plan. And part of that program resulted in the county developing a website that basically aggregates VDOT information. So it's information that's reported by law enforcement on crashes, and it comes into this county's website, and it's historical crash data. So it shows all kinds of statistics about what kind of crash it was, what sort of area it happened in, what time of day, who was involved, like bike, pedestrian, car, that kind of thing. It's pretty, there's a lot of information there. And from that, they created a high injury network that they use to inform decision-making about engineering, when looking at new projects and things like that. So it was pretty interesting. There's a lot of information. And the thing I really took away from it was that since 2016, the number of fatalities and serious injuries has really gone down. There was, so they have a period of 2016 to 2025 shown, and there was a low a number of fatalities in 2019 of 22 fatalities, and a high of 34 in 2017, and again in 2020 and 2022. So like if you look at the graph, it kind of goes like this, but then last year it dropped significantly. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Although it doesn't really get into explaining the why of that, the actual data is there for you to see. There's I mentioned the active transportation plan that's ongoing. Last year I met with, when I was getting into this committee, I met last year with our county DOT's director. Her name's Chessa Walker. And I met with her and the assistant director, Barbara, and just to kind of understand like what was going on in the county, what kinds of things they were working on. Just to say, I'm on the CTAC, and just kind of keep knowing each other basically. And so they gave me an overview of kind of what was going on in the county as far as transportation. And one of the, and then since then, I've gotten some communications from residents around the active transportation plan specifically, and things that they're concerned about in that plan. And some of the recurring themes are bike and pedestrian access, in their neighborhoods, and specifically in Midlothian Village, which is, I don't know if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a historic area in Chesterfield. And people are concerned about things as simple as getting from one side of the street to the other, and the lack of crosswalks to do that. And I've noticed that myself. There's a couple of areas that have been built up in the last few years that's shopping centers and restaurants on one side of 60 and kind of the same thing on the other, as well as apartments and condos, but there's no way to get from one side to the other because there's no crosswalk. And it's a very busy road there. So there's concerns like that have been expressed. There's also concerns about specifically bike infrastructure and continuity between different communities. So that seems like it's an ongoing conversation. Another major program that kind of touches on transportation that Chesterfield is doing right now is the zoning ordinance modernization. One more minute. Okay. Is the zoning ordinance modernization. They call it ZOMOD, and it's basically an update of all the zoning regulations in the county. So that potentially definitely touches on transportation, and something that it's kind of a chicken and the egg. One affects the other, and vice versa. So just want to highlight that. And yeah, I could probably go on, but yeah.
Very informative. Greatly appreciate that. Any questions?
Just one quick question on the Awake extension. You're in the planning and engineering. How soon might they project a start and completion?
They are looking at the NEPA decision by middle of next year.
So that's the final plan.
Yeah, so then that would be followed by the detailed design, and they would do the right-of-way acquisition and advertise for construction after.
So 10 years into the future before I pay my tolls.
Yeah, actually, I think the tolls are
Some of the
expiring.
tolls are coming off into this year,
Yeah, the tolls are expiring.
December's, right?
I applaud Chesterfield's progress.
Are you talking about the Woolridge Genito
Yeah.
extension?
Good stuff. Thank you again. Greatly appreciate your input. So easy, right?
Easy peasy. If I can, I do just want to follow up on something though. So as a member of the committee, one of the things I kind of struggle with is how to, I know we've been doing this community engagement program, and I kind of struggle with how to communicate what we talk about here to the community. I know we have your program with community engagement to do that, but I think there's just a lack of awareness about generally how, transportation works in the county, and not just specific to Chesterfield, but especially from a funding standpoint, and how, there's a misunderstanding or misconception that, the county is responsible, I think, for just getting all the funding to do stuff. And I think it would be really helpful, and maybe that's part of the engagement process to be able to kind of explain the flow of that process, how the funding happens and who makes the decisions.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Erin, and I know we're getting really low on time.
Sorry.
That's when that best happens, when there's a locality partner and us. I wouldn't ever want to be in a position of speaking on behalf of or in the stead of anyone from Chesterfield. It's not my role. It's not my purview. But we aren't in the habit of saying, well, we don't handle that. We're clear about what our role is. And I think when we can do something where there could be someone from the county in concert with us, that's ideal.
Okay.
So, but those take more time to plan.
Good to know.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, I realize we're close to 1:30 timeframe, so if you have to go, please don't feel like you got to stay. We got a few more topics to go through and we'll go through them fairly quickly, I think, hopefully, and kind of continue on. Next topic is Pathways to the Future Symposium debrief. I think 3 or 4 of us were at that debrief on Friday the 13th. I wasn't scared away. Upton wasn't scared away. Bill wasn't scared away, and Ernest wasn't scared away. So we're glad that you guys were able to participate in that. It was a sold out event at the Richmond Times-Dispatch printing facility in Hanover, over 200 attendees. So a lot of different stakeholders from that component.
Not quite that many.
It felt like
I want to
200.
be on record, that is not quite that
That
many.
room fit 200?
Close to.
Close, right? Plenty of cake too, right?
Funny.
Do you want, Kristen, you want to talk about it? You want the
This
community
was
kind
just
of?
for CTAC
Yeah.
to, if they had any comments.
Yeah, Ernest, any thoughts from you on that, on the Friday the 13th symposium?
It was a great, very informative event. Got to meet some new persons and the town of Ashland and connections. So it was good, and Jason did show up.
Yeah. I thought they did a great job connecting affordable housing to the component, and that was the first big component to that, was just talking about affordable housing and what kind of housing stock there is, and the data showing you where the different housing brackets are and so forth. So I thought that was pretty enlightening all the way around. Bill, any thoughts from you on that?
Yeah, I sat with a lot of board of supervisors from Chesterfield County.
Yeah.
So I learned all about how transportation works. Now, their big thing was the pulse, extending GRTC further out into Chesterfield County. That was one of the topics. And transportation, I think, really kind of focused on what Kristen just went through here. There was more information about the housing in VA that was completed than there was, but there's a big tie-in between the transportation resources in the housing development and growth. That was very well spoken about at the meeting, and I'm glad I went. If you get a chance to look at the notes or anything, please do so, because you'll see that strong connection between need for transportation and housing growth.
Upton?
I was very impressed with the breadth of organizations that were represented there. I personally would like a list of the different organizations that were there. Everybody there was interested in how transportation impacted their particular organization. And of course it does from affordable housing on through economic development, et cetera. So there was a broad breadth of organizations, and I'd like to know what organizations were there, just for curiosity.
We do have that list. It depends on whether someone used their work or organizational email. So we have some of that data. I don't think we have every single organization.
Not tonight.
Just kidding. Was anyone else there that I missed on it? One of the things that I take away on it, so you heard Kristen kind of talk about the different boards and so forth, and they had those up. And so this is sort of the second time I've kind of gone through it. So I'm just now starting to grasp the concepts. And I think a lot of this stuff, just from my perspective on this, it takes multiple iterations to kind of really get a good handle of what the funding is and how the different models work and what projects are in there. So don't feel like you have to be an expert on any of this stuff. But you guys are in the room are more knowledgeable than most people that you're talking to on this. And that's kind of how it kind of permeates through. So just don't be bashful about kind of saying, hey, I'm interested in this. I know some, but I'm still learning more on this. So good kind of takeaway on it. Charlie?
Quick question, how transit-oriented development, that seems to be the big drive push in Northern Virginia because it's high density. How much did that come out in the Pathways to the Future seminar? Did they touch on that? Did they try to sell it?
It's more of a roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
Talked about transportation or housing more than anything. I think from Chesterfield's standpoint that I heard was that they need GRTC to extend out into Chesterfield County along Route 360 because of the workforce. the workforce wanted the less expensive way to get into town and get where they need to go for workplace. And so my understanding is GRTC management hasn't made a decision to extend out that way yet. It was not in the works at this present time. Don't quote me on that because I'm not familiar with it, but.
Okay, so the present environment is let's meet the needs with the existing development.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think it ties in smart planning, smart growth, you know, make conscious decisions. You do your heavy density in areas where there's easier transit opportunities, more transit opportunities, transportation opportunities, so that you can kind of think. And that was a lot, you know, they had a professor from VCU, a planning professor from VCU come in and kind of be the keynote and talking about, you know, that's the success of cities is looking at things for the future and kind of thinking about things, especially compared to the way that we've looked and planned things in the past. So a lot more data, a lot more information. So I think it's promising for future planning and development components.
Thank you. I'm sorry to have missed it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. No other topics on it. We'll keep going. Partner meeting updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to touch on essentially 4 things. And one of these is an opportunity for members of CTAC. And that is that next Friday, March 27th, GRTC is going to be celebrating 6 years of what they call open access service, fare-free transit service. And they're going to be doing so downstairs at Benchtop Brewery, which you probably passed if you used the parking deck when you came in today. They're going to be there from 4 to 8. They say on their website that it will be an opportunity to connect, network, and hear from those who have experienced and supported this achievement. So they're celebrating fare-free service, and they're also trying to build support for continuing fare-free service. So Benchtop Brewery next Friday, starting at 4 o'clock. Secondly, I just wanted to mention to the group that the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, VDRPT, has completed work on what they call their Coordinated Human Service Mobility Plan for the year 2026. They update these plans about every 3 to 5 years. It identifies needs and gaps in human services transportation. One of the things I think is very notable about this is they're talking about how do we bring human services transportation, which is generally provided by agencies, as sort of a side thing. How do we bring that into the larger planning conversation? Because there's a lot of human services transportation kind of under the radar, but it goes on a daily basis. Third thing I wanted to mention, and Tony could speak to this probably in more detail, that is the SPAN Center continues to have convened meetings of what we call our Human Services Transportation Coordination Entity Steering Committee. That's a mouthful. The committee met on February 17 and received updates on our long-range transportation planning activities and also on SPAN Center's Ride Connection Service. SPAN Center, as you all may know, provides transportation in this area. And Tony can give you the details on that, but that's been going on for a good while. It's an essential service, helping seniors, people with disabilities to get to things like doctor's appointments. And to help support that, SPAN Center is applying for what's called Section 5310 funds, which is a pool of money that's used to support human services transportation. So see Tony if you have any questions about that. And finally, just wanted to mention, just sort of as a close, because we've been kind of nibbling around the edges of it here today a little bit. There are a number of human resource networks in the region that meet with regularity. The most recent one that I set in on was February 18th, the Goochland Community Partners. And they are talking about how can they improve their health improvement plan, how can they support older adults, how can they update their housing study. We've talked a little bit about housing here. We talked about housing at the symposium last week. So, we're also continuing to, as a takeaway for you, we're trying to make sure that we're touching base with what's going on in the human services networks in our region as well. So that's my report, sir.
Sounds good. Any questions for Ken? Okay, thank you very much. Wrapping things up, looking forward to and next steps. Next member share volunteers. It would be, our next meeting is May 21st. Dumas, you're going to be fresh back from Phoenix.
David, yes.
Are you okay doing the member share and kind of talking a little bit
Sure,
about
happy
what
to
you
talk
learned
about
from
what
that?
happened
Is that
to
okay if we go ahead and go that direction unless someone else has
Let me
anything?
verify that I'll be here, which I'm
Okay.
90% sure.
Great stays in Phoenix, am I right?
Yeah, I won't get at liberty to talk about it, sorry.
He's checking.
Yeah, we're good.
Can I also
Sure, go ahead, John.
ratify your decision to reach out to the Human Services and the Span Center type of folks? If we could alternate with the municipalities and the Human Services, that might add a little variation, because I'd love to hear from groups like y'all. Y'all are equally important in the regional planning.
Yeah,
Not volunteering y'all, and
not to put Tony on the spot, but I think this group might benefit from hearing about some of the work that the Span Center does around human services transportation.
Sure, at the next meeting?
Let's see. Do you want, are you gonna be able to make May or no?
I'm good, but I can keep my update to 5 minutes too, so.
Okay, let's do both. Okay.
So you
Are you
want-
okay doing it in May? Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, I would like to be prepared for it, or I
Sure.
would- yeah.
Sure. If May 21st works for you, we'll have you
Sure.
present as well. You both can do it. I think that'll be a good insight on it and go from there. Does that work? Okay. Final thing is next meeting is Thursday, May 21st here at noon. And we'll go from there.
And Mr. Chair, just wanted to say in closing that I've been in communication with, I think, most everybody about the honorarium policy. And most of you have responded. I still have a few folks that have not responded, yet I think you know who you are. And some of you have responded, but then if you said that, yes, I would like to participate, there are a couple of forms that you need to fill out. There's a automated clearinghouse form as well as a Form W-9 IRS. So, you know, if you'll see me,
Yeah.
before you leave, and I can give you the forms if you fall into those categories.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Something.
Any other questions? Meeting adjourned.
I'm here to answer any questions and,
Yeah, I thought you were giving a pass